Hey YouTube, it's the Overnight Minister's Wife coming to you live from my driveway. And if I'm coming to you from my driveway, then there's a reason why. I had a conversation with somebody today and it was very enlightening, but I figured I need to share this with somebody because I know that I can't be the only one. Were you counted out? I was counted out. I was counted out by family. I was counted out by friends that pretended they had my best interests at heart. And let me give you an example. I mentioned in my video with my husband that I became pregnant at 14. I had my first child when I was 15. Everybody knows that. What I didn't mention was that I dropped out of high school senior year because I was pregnant with my second child. I had all three of my children by the time I was 21. Got married at 18. Like I stated before, I always knew I wanted to be a wife. I always knew that I didn't want to be a statistic. So my goal was always to be a stay-at-home mom with my children. So yes, at the age of 18, I dropped out of high school, stayed at home with my children until I was 26 years old. I raised my children at home until I was 26 years old by choice, not on food stamps, not on welfare. I raised my children at home while my husband worked. Was it hard? Absolutely. One of the most difficult financial times we've ever had. But we managed to put my son through private school, private Christian school, and I went back to school and got my GED when I was 26 years old. 26 years old. After getting my GED at 26 years old, I then went back to school to become a nurse, and I've been a registered nurse for about 7 years now. So what I don't understand is this. Why someone would ever think that the amount of money they make, that the path that their life took them on, or the house that they live in, or the car that they drive, make them better than someone who took an alternative route. Don't let anybody make you feel like you're less than for whatever reason. Life is too short to try to keep up with what everybody else is doing. We live in a day and time where the norm simply is not going to cut it. There are so many more important things than your job, a dollar, the house you live in, and the kind of car you drive. I cannot tell you how many times I have ran into people or know people who have advanced degrees, way more education than I have, that are way more cultured than I am, more well-traveled than I am, but they don't see themselves the way I see them. And that is what I want to tell you today. That is what it boils down to. Who do you see when you look in the mirror? Because me, I have no problem being a high school dropout, a teenage mother, not getting a high school education until I was 26. I have no problem going into an office, going into an interview and say, you know what? I won't take less than $90,000 a year. Period. Not because I'm deserving, not because, no, I am deserving, not because I'm special, but because I know the God I serve. So when I walk in His authority. When I speak in His authority. And the worst thing they can say to me is no. Stop sitting and wallowing in self-pity. Do not do that. Whatever it is that you've been wanting to do for years, whatever it is that you've been saying one day, stop it. 2017 is your year. Get up and do it. Who cares what anybody else thinks? Let me tell you something. It's better to be on food stamps for 5 years, public housing for 5 years, than for the rest of your life. And if you got to drop everything, go back to school, stay at home and raise your kids, then so be it. Because what matters is where you end up. It doesn't matter where you begin. And I always saw my end. When my dad was smoking crack, when he was punching my mother in the face, when I didn't have no hot water, when I lived in a single wide trailer with the floor falling in, I always saw my end. And I know that is nothing but God. I know that is nothing but the Holy Spirit. Do you see your end? Or do you see your right now? Do you see your end? Or are you too busy looking at your right now? I'll tell it everywhere I go. I was a high school dropout. Yes, I'm a registered nurse. Dropped out of high school. Yeah. Had 3 kids by the time I was 21. Married at 18. Dad was a crackhead. Lived off and on without electricity and hot water all of my childhood, practically. Saw my mom be physically abused. My brother is in prison for murder. I mean, come on. If anybody has a sob story, I got a sob story. But it is not my life. It is not who I am. It does not determine where I'm going. God has a destiny plan for me, and I plan to reach that place in this lifetime, regardless of what anybody says. And when God says that I will prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies, please believe me, He will do it. And when that table is prepared, they will be there, but they will not eat. I am a witness to that. They will not eat. They may be serving. They may even be watching you have a hearty meal, but they will not indulge in the pleasures that God has bestowed upon you. I hope this blesses somebody. Enjoy the rest of your evening.